Because I think a lot of times men are having sex with women who haven't maybe fully embraced or like enjoyed their sexuality. And so there's this hesitance in both sides.
Yeah.
And because I love sex, watching someone sort of feel free because they're like, oh, this is great. I can just, kind of be myself in this experience.
Yeah.
Then I see them sort of relax and get more creative because they know I'm not going to get mad or, like shame them or something. It creates a lot of safety and freedom for them to open up and explore.
Yeah. Okay. Coming up on the Ask Women podcast, we talk to a somatic sex coach and we get really great information about how to be a detective with women or with the woman that you're seeing in the bedroom, finding out what she likes, what she doesn't like, how to test the waters. We have Celeste Hirschman on the show, and she is going to explain to you exactly how to do all of these things and come across as the sexy, amazing man that you are. So keep listening. But Kristen is not joining us, or she might be popping in. We do not know, and we shall see. It'll be a huge surprise for everybody. But you have me, Marnie from the Wing Girl Method, and today we have Celeste Hirschman on our call, who is, I'm going to read this because I'm totally going to mess this up, but she's the co-founder of the Somatica Institute of Sex and Relationship Coaching. And she now coaches other coaches on her method, which is the Somatica Institute of Sex and Relationship Coaching. So, Celeste, thanks for being here and thanks for talking with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. I want to talk about sex. Let's talk about it. Because I want to talk about, yeah, like let's get into it. But so here's the thing. So I want to talk to you because you let me know that you're also single and dating. So I want to pick your brain about that, what you're seeing, what you're liking, what you're not liking, all of that. But first, I want to talk to you about your specialty, which is sex, and more sex. And I absolutely love that because you were going to help guide the guys listening on talking about different levels of comfort women have around sex and how to understand what different women are looking for sexually. I think that's such a challenge for most guys because in their mind, they're like, I have things that I want to do, but I don't know if I can say them to her. How do you help people guide them? What would you tell guys on how to really get a gauge for where women are at sexually and also how to proceed sexually with them?
Yeah, I think that there's almost like a beginning and advanced here. So maybe we can start with the beginning, which is just like a few little pet peeves that I feel like would be really helpful, just basic stuff for guys
Yeah.
to know, just to like don't do from the beginning or some
Yeah.
ideas. And then we can talk about the advanced piece, which I think is like understanding the psychology of arousal, which is a whole different level in terms of how
Yes.
do you seduce people, right? So, like little pet peeves, I have to say, um, one of them is just touching my genitals too quickly and too hard. It is not a doorbell, It's
Oh
like
wait, what is too quickly? What is too hard?
exactly.
Like
Okay.
like say hi on the date and grab your pussy, just like
But
the president.
it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like say we're like making out for the first time and there's just no build up, no sensuality. It's like they like kissing me for a minute, then the boobs get touched, and then the pussy gets touched, and like, within 5 minutes, and I'm like, what? Like
And
my
that's too soon.
she hasn't even woken up, like she's not even in the picture yet,
Right.
So I
And
feel
what
like
does that do for a woman when it's too early for her? Does
it
it get her to
actually,
tense up? Does it plummets? Right, the sex
yeah,
drive.
it like turns you off because it's like, firstly, you feel like you're not turned on fast enough and you get in your head. It's like performance anxiety. Also, it's like it kind of numbs it out if you touch it too quickly, and especially
Yeah.
if you touch it too hard. And so, I feel like there's this lost art of sensuality, right? Like actually like feeling the kiss when you're in the kiss and like slowly like touching someone's arm and like, feeling like someone like kiss near your ear and then you feel the tingles go all the way down and then she starts waking up, but like she's not waking up. I think men think it's analogous to a penis. They can be touched pretty quickly and it
Yeah.
feels good,
Yeah.
but it's not the same for women. For most women it takes time and like all over body touch, and the other touch is what starts to get the pussy engaged. And then and then you still don't want to touch it hard and fast and right on the clitoris right away, right? Like there's like slow, like light petting, And so I think, like we have a whole touch class and we teach about like all the different kinds of touch and sensuality because it
Yeah.
like I do really feel like it's a lost art. And so I think that's a big piece. I like to say like you might as well be like rubbing her nose for the if you
Right.
touch it within the first 5 minutes because it's like not only not hot, it's irritating.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, get off my nose. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's a good one. I think one that also I've seen out there that's a pet peeve of mine is like trying to negotiate out of condoms really early on in a connection, or saying, "Oh, I can't orgasm without, with a condom on." It's like, well, maybe you should practice orgasming, like masturbating with a condom on and see if you can teach yourself how to do it or figure out how you might come otherwise. But like immediately in a sexual connection, especially if the woman is asking for a condom to try to negotiate out of it, I feel like it's just like a kind of an immediate boundary crossing. So those are two like kind of basic pet peeves that I think are important.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
no, they're good points to be brought up. I want to dig into that one a little bit. How do you negotiate that? Because I never want a man to give up his own pleasure for a woman. So what is the compromise on that one? That
yeah,
you're exclusive, you get tested so that you know everybody's safe. How do you kind of negotiate that
yeah, and if that's the
or
case,
work
you have
with
to
that?
be ready and willing to be exclusive. And also, if you get exclusive too quickly, it can really kill the
Yeah.
buildup of the connection. So I think you want to find other ways to have an orgasm. Maybe it's through manual sex on yourself or oral sex, or, maybe you do some intercourse and then you take off the condom and do something else that actually creates the orgasm.
Yeah.
But I just like, especially early on, I think it's really important to practice safer sex, and especially if she's wanting it. If she says, "I don't care about condoms," well, that's her risk tolerance, and that's fine. But
Right.
to try to talk somebody out of something that, like that's not consensual, that's not enthusiastic consent. And I certainly feel like, oh, I'm not going to have sex with that person again.
Yeah, but to be honest, if I was younger, I would say I would probably I would have been too embarrassed to state my point of view, or at least to hold it really firm, and I probably would have done something that I was uncomfortable with. So I think like just understanding that that's going on in her head too. But again, on the flip side, I don't want men to sacrifice their own comfort level and their own sexual wants, and so
I
like
agree to completely.
yeah.
I love to give pleasure, and I always want my partner to orgasm as well. And so, like, figuring out different ways and actually being able to have a conversation about it. If it's true that they can't come with a condom on, which is true for
Which
some
is
men,
very true for a lot of people.
very
It
true
desensitizes you. That's the point of it.
for some men.
For some men, yeah.
For some men. But, so then what are the ways that you can? And, like, at least in the beginning, before you're exclusive, go for those ways and then figure out if you want to get tested and be exclusive and all those things. But yeah,
Okay. I
definitely
love
not,
that.
pleasure is my like whole universe. I'm definitely not ever asking anyone to sacrifice pleasure, but really being caring about boundaries is really important to get people to want to have sex with you, and especially to want to have sex with you many times.
Yeah. Well, I love it. You're just listing the things that are turnoffs for women that are not going to make it possible for you to potentially be having sex with them again. So I love hearing those two pet peeves.
Yeah.
So let's dive into reading women and understanding where they are at sexually, how to talk to them about sexual, figuring out who they are sexually. How do you do that?
Yeah, and I think, like one way is to sort of find out a little bit, are they more like in the romantic realm or are they more into passion? We talk about kind of hottest sexual movies and what are the different hottest sexual movies. And they have very different kind of scripts and kinds of touches that go with them and like energy. And, we have whole classes that break this down step by step, but to sort of see like, is somebody feeling like are they making a lot of eye contact and they like want to, talk more about feelings? Maybe they're more in the romantic realm. If like, there's more of like a desire to like touch or they touch or you touch them and they
Is
respond.
this when they are being intimate with you, or you're just saying like watching them in their everyday interactions,
Yeah, watching
or
them in
both?
yeah, or even like you might even find out like what movies they like to watch, If they're all rom-com all the time, then
Right.
they might be much more into the romantic script, but maybe if they like more like action films, they might be more in the passionate script. So you can kind of like understand a little bit about their personality.
Okay.
And
So it's
then
like you're putting an investigator's hat on, detective. You're playing detective. But it would be interesting to have the conversation to see if they're right as well. Like that could be a fun conversation to have. I've noticed you really like watching action films, you talk about things that are more exciting. I actually just listened to this podcast that says that how like what you watch and really relates to how you are in the bedroom. Is that true for you?
Yep.
It would be a cool and a conversation to start with a woman in a fun way that's not so intrusive.
Exactly, and I do think of myself as a desired detective. Like that's what is a big turn on of mine is like really getting to the core of what people turn ons are. Part of it is what we call core desire, and that's what people want to feel during sex, right? So romantic feelings might be like adored or held or cared for, whereas passionate feelings are like desired, taken, wanted, like more intensity, or there's more like power play, like overwhelmed, controlled, like empower, in charge. Like they could be either side of the power play spectrum, or even people are interested in kind of spiritual connections,
Yeah.
like feeling being worshiped like a goddess, or so there's all of these different realms, and the more subtle your seduction is, and the more specific to what her actual psychological turn-ons are, the more. And I think especially if you're wanting to have like casual sex over the long term, which is kind of my favorite, you want to be really good at sex because you want them to keep coming back,
Yeah,
if that's what
absolutely.
you're offering.
Yeah. But
you want
what about are there women who go in every direction who want a little bit of everything all the time? Like how do you detect if that's who she is? Or I guess she's just into everything.
Yeah, some people, what really turns them on is like variety or newness, or right. And so like finding out if they're very adventuresome and they're always like, oh, let's go try this new thing. If they're always wanting to go to a new restaurant and never the same restaurant, maybe they're more
They're probably
interested.
like that in the bedroom. Yeah, they want to try new
Exactly.
things. Okay. So
Exactly.
that's interesting. And then I think like revealing what you've seen is a way to open up that conversation with
Yes,
them.
exactly. And you can talk to them about it. You can try things, in those realms. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, I love that. Well, so how what if a woman doesn't know? Like, yeah, okay, I mean I like watching movies about high school kids. Does that mean like I'm a pedophile? Like what does that mean? I don't know. But like I'm trying to think. I like rom-coms. And yes, I am really oh, damn it. Every time. I'm getting so excited. No, so like I like rom-coms for sure. That's like top on my list. I also like Marvel movies. So what is like how what if women do not know what they like, but like how do you initiate these things with them?
Yeah, and
So
that's
or even if she's shy, right? So she likes watching rom-coms and then you try to make eye contact with her and she's like, why are you looking at me so much? How do you ease in to
well,
these
that's the other
things?
thing, is somebody might very much like romance, but she might not completely know how to take it in. So
Right.
even if you're looking at her and she doesn't know how to take it in, she might still like it. She might just feel
Okay.
like, oh, nobody ever looks at me like that, or
Yeah.
oh, like it makes them nervous or excited.
Yeah.
And I do feel like it's a little bit of trial and error. And the more you have the menu built out in terms of knowing what the key moves and feelings and gestures and words of all of these different experiences are, the better. Like in our book Confidence, we break them down. We also have classes where we talk about, okay, this is the romantic movie, this is how you touch, and this is how you talk. And so you can get some of those subtleties. So if I'm romancing you, I'm going to say like, wow, I could just look in your eyes forever, or like, my God, your skin is so soft. It's more like subtle and not so overtly sexual.
Yeah.
Whereas passion is much more overtly sexual. Like, I just want to eat you alive, and I
Yeah,
want
I
to
want to devour
grab you, and
you.
I want to be inside of you. Like it's more visceral. So you need to have these different moods and modes. And if you're like an amazing lover, then if you have like the full set of all of the different menus, then you might, and then you can sprinkle in, like for me, I really like a combination of romance. I like to feel very, very special, and then little like sprinkles of dominance.
Of
Um,
you being dominant
of
or of
me
them being
being
dominant?
dominated, yeah.
Are you being
Like, but
dominated? Okay. But like
yeah,
how
but
would a guy know that?
yeah, and I think there's like little ways to check. Like one way to check that is very subtle is just to like hold like hands, like hold the wrists together or hold the hands down. And if she's just like she opens and makes sound, then that's a good thing. And if
Then
she's
she
like,
likes it.
like pulling away, then it's like, oh, that's not somebody who wants to be, restrained at all. So it's more like trying little subtle pieces. Or if you feel not ready and able to read those subtle cues yet, you can say like, do you like it if I take control a little bit of your
Okay.
body and tell you what to do, so you can ask, or you can try like subtle attempts. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what are some other subtle attempts that you could try? So, like, I like that thing of holding her hands back. What if she likes to dominate? What would the subtle thing be to test the waters on that? Or is that something you have to talk about before?
That one might you need to talk about probably a little
Yeah,
bit.
because you can't just lie there and say, "Do you want to do stuff to me?" Like, and she'd be like, this is a
No, I
turnoff.
don't.
I don't want to do anything anymore." Like vagina
Yeah.
closed. Yeah.
Yeah, you could say like, do you like to be in charge, or do you like to switch roles around dominance and submission, or because some people like to play both sides of the coin.
Okay, interesting. And what about for the guys? Like, how do they figure out what they like? Because I know for me, before I started doing any of this work, I was like, oh, men love sex. They like every kind of sex. They want to tie us up. They want to do this. They want to do that. But there's a lot of men who don't want to do most of those things. They don't want to be they don't know. They also don't know what they want. So how do men figure out what they want as well and what they like?
Yeah, I think it starts still with feeling. How do you want to feel? But I do feel like for a lot of men, one of the things they want to feel, and partly because in our society, men are kind of, they feel very proud if they're able to provide what other people want. That's sort of
Yeah.
like the training, the social training. And so a lot of times what men want is to be competent. They want to be really good. They want their partner to be like moaning and groaning and coming all over the place. Um, and that's why we see that in porn, these women sort of like putting on a good show.
Yeah.
um, so for them, it actually is learning how to be a good lover so that they feel that sense of empowerment and confidence that comes from knowing that they have what another person can provide. But like some men want to feel desired, and if that's the case, it's a little more challenging because women are taught to kind of hold back and wait. And so if you want a woman to really come towards you, that might be something that you need to ask for. It's like, I want to come seduce you sometimes, but I also want you to come and, push me up against the wall and
Yeah.
grab my butt, like because feeling desired. And so some things might be easier just because of the socialization, and other things might have to be more overtly negotiated or talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think men need to figure out what do they want to feel during sex, and then what gives them that feeling. And that's a big part of like what we teach in Somatica in a much, more step by step kind of
Yeah,
subtle
of course.
way.
Well,
Yeah.
so I just think most people in general don't really know what they want until they've had it, right? And they feel awkward about bringing up the conversation. I remember even when I first started having sex with my now husband, and he would talk dirty. I remember I was like, "Stop doing that. I don't like it at all." And now I need him to do it. Not all the time, but I like it. Like if he does talk a little bit, that like pushes me over the edge. But I remember at first, because I wasn't very comfortable. I was really young. Also,
Yeah.
I was just inexperienced sexually. I feel like I had just started masturbating,
Yeah.
so it was a very new space for me. Um, how do you like get over the discomfort? That's a big, broad question, and I know like you talk about having these conversations, but some people may not be very forthcoming during these conversations, which I guess tells you a lot about them that they may not be very open sexually just yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm bisexual, so I've had sex with men and women, and I always like to ask people what turns them on or what they like. And a lot of times with women, they'll just say, "Oh, whatever you want," or something like that. So I don't get a lot of information.
Right, and you're like,
Uh,
okay, we'll do whatever I want then.
yeah, and so then it's sort of like a trial and error, and just do what I know to do best and see how the response goes. But it is really helpful if people dial down and figure out what they want.
Yeah.
And
Well, it helps being with partners like you as well, people who are comfortable and are open about it. Even if they may freeze up initially, it's nice to have somebody talk openly about it. So
yeah.
when you are with women, because that's interesting, when do you talk about this? Is this like part of your buildup before you have sex that you bring it up, or is it something you talk about after?
Sometimes before, sometimes like kind of during at the beginning when you're making out, and it's like you're sort of like escalating, and then you're like, so like what do you, like how do you like to be touched, or what feels really good? I also am really attracted to kind of shyer men. And so it's so fun to like teach them. And then watch them expand as they
Blossom.
realize that
Yeah.
I love sex. Because I think a lot of times men are having sex with women who haven't maybe fully embraced or like enjoyed their sexuality. And so there's this hesitance in both sides.
Yeah.
And because I love sex, watching someone sort of feel free because they're like, oh, this is great. I can just, kind of be myself in this experience.
Yeah.
Then I see them sort of relax and get more creative because they know I'm not going to get mad or, like shame them or something. It creates a lot of safety and freedom for them to open up and explore.
Yeah. Okay. I love what you've shared
Thank
about sex, but now let's dive into, I know you don't want to share anything completely personal, but I'd love to hear about just your experience in dating. So, have you been single forever? Are you recently divorced and getting back out there? Tell me a little bit about you and your
you.
singlehood experience.
Yeah. So for the last, I'm not exactly sure how many years now, but some number of years, I'm not looking for a primary partner. I did that for so much of my life. Wonderful, learned so many things, blah, blah, blah. Didn't
Yeah.
really make me very happy. Now I'm joyfully happy.
Yeah.
And I like more long-term casual connections.
Okay.
So that puts me in sort of in and out of the dating realm often off and on. And I do love dating. I love going on dates. I love meeting new people. I love, the chemistry and the energy at the beginning. And I've done, dating apps, and I also
I was
some
going to ask where do you go to meet people because you're meeting men and women. So where do you go? Like where do single people go now?
yeah, these days I'm almost exclusively dating men. And I use Tinder and Bumble.
Okay.
And then IRL. So, and I think most of the time the people that I'm attracted to wouldn't necessarily think that they are going to be able to pick me up or something. I'm a little bit intimidating. I'm a little bit older. I like younger men. So I usually have to do the asking out in the world also,
So
which
you pursue. Okay.
I pursue, which is like nerve-wracking and fun and scary. And, like it's one thing that I really love about dating men, because I was, dating women a lot earlier on. It's much more obvious when they like you.
Yeah.
Like with women, it's like I've been to so many lesbian bars, and I'm like, I do not. How do you even tell?
Right. You're
It's
like, does she
so
want to be my best friend or does she want to like get in my pants? Yeah.
yeah, but also it's just they don't necessarily like give you the look. You know what I mean? Like with men, you can just look in their eyes and you see the desire, and it's like, oh, okay, it's there.
Yeah.
Boom. And so that makes it a lot easier. But no matter what, I still get nervous. So I totally feel for men who are usually responsible for initiating.
Mhm.
I have a lot of compassion because I'm initiative. I'm sort of like a man in a woman's body in a lot of ways.
Right.
And so I feel like I get nervous every time I do it, no matter how many times. And so I guess I just want to encourage your listeners that like you might not just get over it, you just
Right.
have
It's
to
going to be
go
difficult
through
every
it. You
single
go
time. And you got
through
to
it.
do it because then you lose it. Well,
Yeah.
actually, let's flip that over because with the women, I know that you said you're exclusively dating men now, but if you can remember, what would you do when you couldn't read the signs where you were like, I'm totally clueless about this? Would you also just take the initiative or did you wait till it was 100% certain?
Oh my God. If I had waited with women, I never would have gotten laid.
Right. Exactly.
Yes.
No,
No,
but
I
that's good
definitely had to
information to
go.
share. Like
Yeah,
you have to it's not a numbers game, but sometimes you just got to put it out there and they can say, "No, not interested." You go, "Great. Now we can,
totally.
braid each other's hair." That's wonderful. Good to know.
Totally. And I also like when I approach a man, I'll say like, "Are you dating now?" Or, like you can just see like, are they even open to that possibility? And that gives them an opportunity to just say no without even saying no to me. Just like, "No, I'm
Right.
not in the market," kind of a thing. So that feels like an easy opener. Um,
Do you bring up sexual conversations with people when you first meet them? Like obviously because of what you do, it's an easier transition, but do you have more sexual conversations?
I think I have more sexual conversations than most people on first dates because of what I do. Everybody's like, "What? I've never even heard of that before." Okay. Sometimes we get more down to the nitty-gritty of like what turns each of us on, and sometimes we just talk more about the work that I do and how I kind of help people come into their own as erotic beings. So yeah, it sort of depends on the situation. I actually like don't love talking about sex too much. Um, especially until I've met someone. So maybe
Right.
one of my pet peeves on the dating apps is this sort of like talking about sex, or I even like don't even like it that much if people immediately call me like love. I'm like, I'm not your love. You don't even know me,
Yeah.
like I want,
Sweetie,
yeah,
babe. I
like
don't
I
like that either.
no,
That's
I want
exactly like you said. It's like touching the nose.
yeah, it's like we're
It
not ready
is.
for
We're
that. Yeah.
not there yet. Yeah, I'm not warmed up yet. So what do you like to talk about on first dates? And what could be some guidance for guys on how to, not I like that you said not go straight for the sexual conversations unless that's
Yeah.
super important to you. You are like a highly sexual man and you have to have a highly sexual partner. But
Yeah.
but what how like what are good conversations that can open up to connection, attraction,
And I
versus
want
just
to
like
address
two
what you
guys,
just
people
said.
talking. Yeah.
I want to address what you just said because I am a highly sexual partner.
Yeah.
So even though I'm not ready to talk about sex right away on the apps, if they chilled out a little bit, I probably have a higher sex drive than most men. I've
Right.
always had a higher sex drive than most men that I have been in relationship with. So you don't want to just assume because somebody's not ready to talk about
Right.
sex.
That's true.
So that's something to think about for men. Um, but where were we going next?
Oh, 'cause what was I asking? Oh, yeah. So what are like great things to talk about on
Oh,
dates?
great things to
Because
talk
like
about.
I know
Yeah,
that like so many guys can have dates and they'd be like, oh, we had a great time, and the girl's like, ah, it was great, but we felt no chemistry. So what are the things that you need either to feel or to talk about, or what does it look like for you? Like
yeah.
what does it
What
mean to
is
be on a date?
chemistry?
Yeah. What
What
is
is
chemistry?
chemistry? Yes,
Yes.
and I feel like people don't necessarily understand how to flirt. So the way that you flirt is you actually run erotic energy in your body, like you feel your desire, and then you talk about anything. It doesn't matter. Where have
Yes.
you traveled? Like what are you but as I'm talking to you and I'm thinking, I'm looking at you and
Right. Exactly. The
I'm thinking,
undertones of what you're
yeah,
expressing.
we're gonna have a lot of fun together. I've got
Yeah.
a secret, and the secret is this is gonna be hot. And that's in my sort of body and in my mind. And then I'm talking about anything, but I'm holding that
Sexual
energy,
space.
not spilling it like, oh, you're so hot and da 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 da. But like I'm here, I'm in my center, I'm
Yeah.
feeling
And it's
myself.
okay to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it feels good, and it feels good to be with you, and at some point on a date, I just love it so much if somebody can switch in and just say like, "I'm really enjoying being here with you," or
Yeah.
like, "This is so much fun," or, just something.
What about some sort of compliment? Like, is there any like what about if a guy were to say like, ah, I'm sorry, but you are so sexy.
I
I
love
just
it.
I just want yeah.
I love it. Not
So
before.
that's not a bump on the nose. Okay.
It's not, to me, it's not, and somebody can say like, "Do you just even on the apps can say like, wow, you just have such a gorgeous smile." It just like if they get like I have this one picture that's actually pretty sexy, and my ex-husband, who's my best friend, he's like, "You have to put that picture on. Guys are really gonna like it." And I'm like, "Yeah, but if I do, then they're gonna start to say things right away." And in some ways, I feel I feel okay about it. It's a little bit of a filter. It's like if they're like, "Oh, I just want to be in that second picture with you right away." I'm like,
You're like, yeah, we won't go out. Yeah.
you know? So I don't know. Maybe it's bad because it's like sort of setting
It run a split test on it. See
yeah,
who
it's a
it
little bit of
brings
a split
in.
test.
Exactly.
And honestly, I do like shyer guys, so it's helpful to me to see like, are they going to be more overt or not? So
Yeah. I love
that's
hearing that you love shyer guys. So tell me what that means when you love shyer guys.
if
Does
I
that mean guys who are just a little bit quieter but still powerful? Does it mean guys who literally are nervous around you? What does it mean?
yes, all of those things.
Oh,
And I
really?
know it's hard to imagine all of those things at once, but it does happen where like, you have a guy who's like he 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 has a kind of a confidence, but also feels a little intimidated by me. Like if a man's like lip shakes on a first date when they're
You
talking,
like that?
oh my God,
Interesting.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it
What
because
does it
I
mean
like
for you?
it just makes me feel like special and powerful and yeah, just like a little bit like they're excited because it's like, oh, maybe like they've never been with someone like me before or something like that, like
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
So
And
I
then what?
love
They'll try harder? Is that what it is? Like, what is it? I'm so
no,
interested in
they
this.
just feel lucky.
You feel lucky. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind
Okay.
of some of my turn-ons. And I might also feel lucky to be with them. It doesn't have to be a one-way street.
Right. But
But
when does shy become a turnoff? Like, at what point does it become a turnoff? Like, if they can't ask you out, I'm just saying, like, Or do you want to be the assertive one completely?
I don't mind. No, I don't want it to be that way completely, but I don't mind being a little bit that way in the beginning, just to make the invitation. And then, they probably need to like step up and start to make moves as well. But my experience mostly, I like very, very kind people.
Me
I don't
too.
want to date. Some people are like turned on by like assholes or whatever. I have no interest. Like I
Yeah.
can just tell already how they look and what they dress like and what they're doing on the apps. I'm just like left, left, left.
You're like douchey, douchey, douchey. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so to like to find very kind people, sometimes they are a little bit less assertive, and that's okay with me. Like because I'd rather that they be kind.
Okay, I love that. I like kind men as well.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to wrap up this show because I think you gave some really information, really great information for guys to take in, and I think it was actually a lot what you
Okay.
shared. So, number one, I love that you love Shyman. I love how you explained how to like test the waters sexually. I just think you really shared a lot of really valuable information. Do you want to tell people how to find out more information about you and where they can find you?
Yeah, so you can find us at the classes are all at learn.somatica.com, and we did want to make a special offer to your
Oh,
guests,
great.
especially around learning how to like give women the hot experiences that they want. We have two classes, one on sort of how do you know what turns you on, and also how do you give someone their hottest sexual movie. So we're doing a special for your group, and it's AWP, Ask Women Podcast, AWP 20. They get $20 off of either of those classes. So I'll send you an email and you can
Yeah,
put it
send me the link and I'll
in
post it
notes
down
and
below.
everything.
Oh, I love that, guys. Go and watch that. New episodes of the Ask Women podcast come out every Tuesday now, really early in the morning. I forget what time Kristen posted, but she posted early in the morning. But it's every single week. So please go and subscribe to our show. Don't waste your time downloading individual episodes because that time could be spent being a detective with the woman that you are dating and finding out what she likes in the bedroom. All right, guys, you guys are awesome. We'll see you next week.